All right, let's dive into one of Shakespeare's heaviest hitters, Macbeth. It's this incredible, timeless story that really gets you thinking about a pretty dark question. How does a hero, a truly brave and celebrated guy, end up becoming a complete monster, a murderous tyrant? That's what we're going to unpack today. How ambition, when it's left unchecked, and the guilt that follows can just completely wreck someone from the inside out. So the whole thing kicks off on this dark, stormy night, right? Macbeth, who's this amazing general, runs into three witches. And this is a game-changing moment. They hit him with this wild prophecy. You're gonna be king. Just like that. And boom, that's all it takes. A single dangerous idea gets planted in his head, and nothing's ever the same again. And that really is the heart of it all, isn't it? How does this happen? How does a man known for his courage, for his loyalty, just completely spiral into this paranoid, bloodthirsty king? To figure out how he falls so far, so fast, we've got to look at what's pushing him in the first place. Okay, so first up, a hero's fatal flaw. See, it all comes back to who Macbeth is at his core, because just like all the great tragic heroes you read about, he's got one. A single, huge weakness that's going to set his whole downfall in motion. Yeah, there's actually a literary term for this, hamartia. It's basically that one little thing about a person that ends up unraveling their entire life, turning everything good into a total disaster. And for Macbeth, it is his ambition. And it's not just regular ambition, it's insatiable. He's willing to throw everything away, his honor, his loyalty, even his soul, all for the crown. And here's the crazy part. He knows it's wrong. Like right from the get-go, he says this incredible line, "Stars, hide your fires. Let not light see my black and deep desires." He's literally asking the heavens to look away so no one can see the awful thoughts brewing inside him. He's totally aware that this path leads somewhere dark. Okay, let's talk about something called the Great Chain of Being. Now, to really get how huge a deal Macbeth's ambition was, you have to understand the world he lived in. Back in Shakespeare's day, what he did wasn't just murder. No, it was seen as an attack on the entire universe, on the very fabric of reality. So what was this great chain of being? Well, people believed that God had set up this perfect, rigid hierarchy for, everything. Everyone and everything had a specific spot. And right at the top of the human ladder, just one step below God himself, that was the king. He wasn't just a ruler, he was God's chosen representative on earth. And this order was absolute. You couldn't mess with it. You had God, then the king, then the rest of mankind, then animals, plants, all the way down to rocks at the very bottom. The key thing here is that everyone had a fixed place, and that's where you were meant to stay. So here's the bottom line. Trying to climb that ladder, to move up from your God-given spot, wasn't just seen as being ambitious. No, it was a direct challenge to God himself. It was a sin. And that's the world Macbeth is living in when he decides to go after the crown. It's a catastrophic choice. All right, next up, ambition becomes murder. So we've got the sinful ambition bubbling away. How does it actually boil over into violence? Let's pinpoint the exact moment that those dark thoughts turn into a deadly plan. This is where Lady Macbeth steps into the picture. As soon as she reads Macbeth's letter about the prophecy, her mind goes straight to the same dark place, murder. But she's got to worry. She fears her husband is just too good of a person. She says he's too full of the milk of human kindness to do what needs to be done. And the difference between them at this point is just night and day. Macbeth is hesitating, he's torn up inside, wrestling with his conscience. Lady Macbeth, she is ruthless, laser-focused. She goes right for the jugular, questioning his manhood and basically telling him to toughen up, because greatness requires a little evil. She is absolutely the spark that lights the fuse. And this is such a key moment. Macbeth actually admits to himself that he has zero good reason to kill King Duncan. He says he has no spur, like what you'd use to make a horse go faster. The only thing driving him is his own vaulting ambition. And he even recognizes that this kind of ambition tends to overleap itself and cause a massive fall. He basically predicts his own doom right here. But he does it. He lets his wife push him over the edge, and he murders the king. And that's it. That is the point of no return. The fantasy is over, and the bloody, messy reality of what he's done starts to set in. Next, we see what happens next. The mind's poison. The fallout from the murder isn't political, not at first. It's psychological, and it's immediate. They got what they wanted, right? He's king. But their peace of mind? It's gone. Forever. Their minds start to get infected by the poison of guilt. Macbeth's reaction is just visceral. He's completely horrified by the blood on his own hands. He asks this famous, haunting question, will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? He's saying that not even an entire ocean could wash away this stain. The guilt hits him instantly, and it is overwhelming. And this is where his mind really starts to break. His guilt becomes so powerful, it starts to blur the line with reality. First, he hallucinates a bloody dagger leading him to the king. Later, he's tormented by the ghost of his friend Banquo, who he had killed out of pure paranoia. The guilt is quite literally haunting him. He also hears this voice cry out, "Sleep no more. Macbeth does murder sleep." And sleep, it's the ultimate symbol of peace, of innocence, of a clear conscience. He knows in that moment that he's destroyed that for himself. He will never, ever have a peaceful night's rest again. His guilt will always be there, keeping him awake. But here's a crucial thing to understand. His guilt doesn't just stay as remorse. It evolves, it changes. That initial horror quickly sours and curdles into this all-consuming paranoia. He becomes obsessed with protecting his stolen crown, which drives him to commit more murders and then more, each one just digging him into a deeper, more brutal hole. Yeah, this paranoia is the real poison, and Macbeth himself has the most perfect, chilling description for it. He says his mind is full of scorpions. Can you imagine that? Just this constant, stinging, poisonous torment inside your own head. He might be the king on the outside, but on the inside, his mind has become a personal torture chamber. Okay, so where does all this lead? This is the final chapter, a cautionary tale of guilt. What is the final price they pay for this terrible, soul-shattering crime? Let's look at how it all ends for them. And what's so fascinating is that guilt eats away at them in totally different ways. For Macbeth, his guilt explodes outward. It turns into more violence, more paranoia, more tyranny. But for Lady Macbeth, her guilt turns inward. It implodes, isolating her from everyone and everything, and eventually leading to a total mental breakdown. It is a complete 180 from the woman we met at the start. Remember how she told Macbeth, "A little water clears us of this deed"? Now she's the one sleepwalking, frantically scrubbing at her hands, trying to wash away an imaginary bloodstain that will never leave. She finally gets it. She utters that famous, hopeless line, "What's done cannot be undone." Which, of course, brings us all the way back to the beginning, and to those witches. So what do you think? Were they just messengers of fate, telling Macbeth what was always going to happen? Or were they something more sinister? Puppeteers who saw his fatal flaw, his ambition, and knew exactly which strings to pull? The play never really gives us a straight answer, leaving us to think about that blurry line between destiny and the choices we make ourselves.